guys, it's David from theunlocker.com, and we all do it. Whether it's by accident pulling it out of our pockets and it does a bunch of front flips and lands face down on the pavement, or maybe you're wearing some slippery gym pants and it just kind of slides its way out, we all crack the screen of our phone. The iPhone 6 with its curved edges and slippery metal back is no exception, and even sometimes with a case, it can still land just right where it shatters the entire front. So thanks to a friend who did just that, I'm going to show you guys how to replace the screen on an iPhone 6. Here we have our broken screen. So the first thing we need to do is buy a new one. Now there are two types you're going to see online. There are the glass only replacement and then the full front LCD and everything put together. The glass only replacement may seem appealing because it's $15 to buy or whatever, but it's very, very difficult to do. It requires a special piece of equipment usually that heats up the phone so that you can separate the glass from the LCD, which is held together by glue. It's a pain in the ass, trust me. You're welcome to go try that, but this video I'm going to do with the entire LCD, which is the most of the time what you're going to do. So here's the one that I bought, and it comes with its own set of tools that we'll need, and you'll also notice that, like I said, it is the LCD with its cables and everything attached. You can click on the link below this video to find out where I bought this kit from. It comes in white and black. So first things first, on the old phone, we're going to undo the two hex screws at the very bottom of the device next to the charging port. Now I always set these on a white piece of paper, all of my screws in fact, so that I can keep track of where they all came from and how they all go back. Then we're going to take the suction cup and stick it to the phone and then use the pry tool to kind of pry this front LCD off of the back. Now my phone I have here is pretty cracked, so it's pretty hard to get a good suction cup suction. So instead, I'm gonna just use something very sharp, like a knife, and kind of wedge it in there and slowly get it up. When it's up enough, then I'll use the plastic tool to continue to wedge the top off and finish the job. After you've gotten that off, you're going to pull the LCD back, but don't pull it back too far. We don't want to hurt the cables that are still attached. Then we're going to do these 5 screws holding in this metal plate, which is holding in the cables. Then remove the metal plate and put it on our white piece of paper. I also take the screws and put them next to the holes that they came out of, because you have to be careful. Sometimes the screws are actually different sizes and they have to go back in the exact hole. Then we're just going to pop off these cables. They just kind of snap off, and we can use the little plastic prying tool to do that until we get all 4 of them off. Then we can separate the screen from the body. Now looking at your replacement screen and your old one, you might notice that there's a few things missing on the replacement screen, namely the earpiece and the home button, as well as all of the metal backing. So we need to then transfer that from the old one to the new one. Let's start with the earpiece and the camera in that section. So we're going to undo these 3 screws here at the top, remove the metal backing and set it aside, again with all of our screws next to the holes that they belong to. And then we're going to pull off the camera and take out the earpiece from underneath and set that aside. And then we're going to actually peel all of this cable off that's connected to the camera. And don't be scared, it does kind of feel a little strange peeling off, but it does come off. It's just a little bit of glue. And then set that aside. Next, you'll notice that there is actually some pieces of plastic up here that are not on the replacement screen, so we're going to take those as well. First, we're going to take off the one that goes under the camera with a sharp object. I'm using a knife. And then we're going to do the same thing for the one that goes by the proximity sensor. And take that off. And now we're going to remove the metal backing by undoing these 3 screws on this side, and then these 3 on the other side. Then at the very bottom, we're going to undo the home button by taking off these 3 screws down here, removing this metal piece down here, and then we're going to push the home button out through the bottom and then slowly and carefully peel it like we did with the camera and the earpieces, etc. Eventually, it will come off, and there's a little snappy part, kind of like the cable connectors, that'll come off as well. And then we can remove the metal backing. So then we have all of the parts off of the old screen and ready to put them on the new screen. I keep them all on a piece of paper with all of the screws next to the holes that they go in, just to keep organized. Next, I'm going to remove this little piece because I have it from the old screen, so I don't need it. Then we're going to put our pieces of plastic back in. Then we're going to put the camera back in, the earpiece and proximity sensors. And just make sure that you put the earpiece underneath the camera cable and have the camera cable go over it, with the camera putting in the slot after that. Then we're going to take the metal backing and put it over this little piece of cable. Replace our metal backing for the earpiece and camera section. And then we're going to screw that in with the 3 screws that were holding that down originally. Then we're going to put our home button back in. It should be a little sticky still, so you should be able to just push it back in and snap the little Lego-esque thing back on. Make sure that is nice and snug. Then we're going to put the metal backing back on that and screw that back in with the 3 screws. Then we can put our metal backing back on the back of the screen by doing the 3 screws on one side and then the 3 screws on the other. Then we can reconnect our screen to the motherboard using the little Lego snaps on the cables. And at this point, you're going to want to turn the screen on before we bolt everything back up, just to make sure that it works. And then if it does, we can put our metal backing back over the cables and put the 5 screws back in to hold that in place. Then you're going to slowly and carefully put the screen back onto the metal housing and slowly work your way up to get it locked into place, and be careful not to re-crack the screen. Finally, you're going to put the 2 hex screws back in the bottom and you're all set. And there you go. Now you just need to test it and make sure that everything works correctly. Try to set a fingerprint, take a picture with the front-facing camera, the rear-facing camera, make a phone call and make sure that you can hear the person on the other end. All of that stuff's important. And if any of those things aren't working, then just, unfortunately, open the phone back up and make sure that all the connections are connecting properly, and then put it back together and try again. And there you have it. If you guys like this, please share it or thumbs up it. It is greatly appreciated. And if you want more videos on how to get the most out of your technology, subscribe to the YouTube channel or reach out to me on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+ at DCOGEN. And as always, thanks for watching.